That's why Diddy jazzed up that day. When we was at the party, he grabbed Lemmy by his collar and was like, don't ever play with that girl ever again. Talking about me. Like, don't ever play with her. Like, you'll play with their budget, play with talent. Like, y'all playing with me. I will never forget that day, bro. The Diddy party. We went to the little private area behind the, cause he had a house behind his house. Like, he had a house, his backyard with a fat bed. And then it had like a miniature little whatever. Me and Lemmy go upstairs. They tell him that he can't bring his security. He went in with no security, so it's just me and Lemmy. We go up in there. We go upstairs. He like, what's up, Diddy?
Yo, what's good, fam? Welcome back to Blame to Fame. In January 2024, Katt Williams sat down with Shannon Sharpe on Club Shay Shay and dropped what might be the most talked about interview in recent memory. He called out celebrities, he made bold predictions, and he said something about Diddy that made people pay attention. All of these big deviants is all catching hell in 2024. It's up for all of them. It don't matter if you Diddy or whoever you is, all lies will be exposed. At the time, those words seemed like typical Katt Williams energy. Bold, confident, entertaining. But then something happened. Diddy was arrested in September 2024 on federal charges, including racketeering conspiracy and sex trafficking. Suddenly, Katt's words didn't sound like jokes anymore. They sounded like warnings. But here's the question we need to ask. Was Katt Williams really predicting the future? Or was he just a man with insider knowledge, speaking his truth about an industry he knows intimately? And more importantly, what does his story tell us about Hollywood, power, and the price of staying silent? Let's get into it. The Club Shay Shay interview was explosive from start to finish. Katt Williams came with receipts, and he wasn't holding back. He talked about turning down $50 million 4 separate times. Just to protect my integrity, he said. He talked about Dave Chappelle. He talked about the industry's dark side. And then he got to Diddy. P. Diddy be wanting to party. And you gotta tell him no, Williams said. You gotta tell him no. I did. See, I got the receipts for everything I'm telling you. That's why I can say 'em so freely. Let that sink in for a second. $50 million. 4 times. Katt Williams walked away from a life-changing amount of money because he didn't want to be part of whatever was happening in Diddy's world. That's not a joke. That's a decision that tells you something about what he knew and what he was unwilling to compromise on. Months later, in November 2024, Williams sat down with GQ and went even further. He called Diddy a demon. He referenced his connection to Tupac Shakur, suggesting that Diddy may have been involved in Pac's death. So when I was a young man, Tupac was my favorite artist. I loved Tupac, and I felt like we were kindred spirits. So if I hear you responsible for knocking my sen off, I don't give a f what job I end up being in. I don't care how things go. If I can get a way to get you, that's what I'm all about. This wasn't just comedy. This was personal. Williams made it clear that his disdain for Diddy wasn't random. It was rooted in something deeper, something that had been building for years. I just don't like you walking around scot-free, he said. To understand why Katt Williams spoke out, you have to understand what he was willing to sacrifice. Turning down $50 million isn't something you do casually. That's the kind of money that changes generations. That's the kind of money that most people would do almost anything to get. But Williams had a different calculation. He valued his integrity more than the paycheck, and he made it clear that he wasn't afraid to name names. In a 2026 interview with Big Boy, Williams doubled down on everything he said. I'm not scared to say nothing, he told the host. He explained that he viewed his Club Shay Shay appearance as a carefully planned moment. I had determined that you had to do this particular thing 17 times consecutively, he said. He wasn't just talking, he was executing a strategy. Williams also revealed something interesting about his perspective on Hollywood parties. I wasn't ever invited to the parties, but I was invited to the parking lot, he said. That detail matters. He was close enough to see what was happening, but not so close that he was part of it. He was an observer, a witness, a man who could see the truth without being trapped by it. I'm anti-establishment, so I can never be the establishment, Williams said at the Vulture Festival in November 2024. Even if I'm at the Diddy party, I'm there to tell, I'm there to see, who the f is in here and what do y'all get from being in here? So, nobody likes to have me around. I'm there for bad intentions. Those are powerful words from a man who has been in the entertainment industry for decades. He wasn't there to be part of the system. He was there to document it, to understand it, and eventually, to expose it. And when you consider what we now know about Diddy's legal situation, Williams's warnings take on a different weight. He wasn't just talking, he was telling the truth as he saw it, even when it cost him money and opportunities. So, what's the actual legal reality that Katt Williams seemed to predict? Let's break it down. In September 2024, Sean Combs was arrested in New York City and charged with racketeering conspiracy, sex trafficking by force, fraud, or coercion, and transportation to engage in prostitution. He was denied bail twice and held at the Metropolitan Detention Center in Brooklyn. His trial was a spectacle. Prosecutors presented weeks of harrowing testimony. Cassie Ventura, his former girlfriend, took the stand and described their relationship in graphic detail. Surveillance footage of Diddy attacking Cassie in a hotel hallway was shown to the jury, but the outcome was mixed. In October 2025, the jury acquitted Diddy of sex trafficking and racketeering conspiracy charges that could have put him behind bars for life. Instead, they convicted him on 2 counts of transportation to engage in prostitution, a violation of the Federal Mann Act. Judge Arun Subramanian sentenced Diddy to 50 months in federal prison. He is currently incarcerated at FCI Fort Dix in New Jersey, with an expected release date of February 2028. Diddy's legal team has appealed the sentence, arguing that the judge improperly considered charges he was acquitted of when determining his punishment. They claim his sentence is about 4 times higher than the usual punishment for such offenses. Prosecutors argue that the 50-month sentence is actually below federal sentencing guidelines and in line with similar cases. It's also worth noting that Diddy has spent a fortune on his legal defense. Reports indicate he paid between $7 million and $8 million in legal fees to fight the federal charges. That's the cost of fighting the most powerful prosecutors in the country. Now, let's address something important. Some news outlets have reported that Katt Williams' comments have been cited as evidence of his foresight. But it's important to distinguish between what Williams actually said and what people have interpreted. He didn't predict the specific charges or the exact outcome. What he did was speak generally about lies being exposed and the entertainment industry's dark side being revealed. That's not prophecy. That's pattern recognition from someone who has spent decades in the industry. Katt Williams' words didn't just resonate with fans. They also got a reaction from the celebrities he called out. In May 2026, Kevin Hart used his Netflix roast to fire back at Williams. Hart addressed rumors that he attended Diddy's parties directly. Katt said, "I went to Diddy parties. I ain't been to no Jing Diddy parties. I went to one party. And this is the truth. I went to one Ing party, okay? And the only reason why that Lil Nun knew I was there is 'cause he was there." Hart continued, "Katt was at the same Ing party. I saw him, he saw me, he said, shh, you, in, a. Tell the Ing Cruth. We was at the same Ying party. I ain't no snitch, but a lot of people was there." That's a direct challenge to Williams' narrative. Hart is saying that Williams was at the same parties he's criticizing. And if that's true, then Williams isn't an outsider looking in. He was inside the room. But here's what's also true. Being at a party doesn't mean you're part of what's happening in the back rooms. Williams himself has said he was there to observe, not to participate. And there's no evidence that Hart or Williams did anything wrong at any party. The roast also featured Williams himself, who made jokes about Hart and Diddy. Kevin famously was at a bunch of Diddy parties, but in his defense, it was only because Diddy thought he was 10, Williams quipped. It's worth noting that Williams and Hart appeared to squash their beef on stage that night. But the exchange highlights the complicated nature of these conversations. Everyone in the industry knows something. Everyone has a perspective. The question is who you believe and what you choose to reveal. So, what does all this tell us about Hollywood? About the industry that Katt Williams has spent decades navigating? First, it tells us that there's a difference between what the public sees and what actually happens behind closed doors. Williams has been clear about this. He's been on the inside, he's seen things, and he's chosen to speak about them. All of these big deviants is all catching hell in 2024, he said. It's up for all of them. That wasn't a prediction about Diddy specifically. It was a commentary on the industry as a whole, on the culture of silence and complicity that allows powerful people to operate without accountability. Second, it tells us that speaking out comes at a cost. Williams turned down $50 million 4 times. He's been called a liar by Kevin Hart. He's been accused of being at the same parties he criticizes. None of that has stopped him from continuing to speak his truth. Third, it tells us that the justice system works slowly, but it does eventually work. Diddy's arrest and conviction didn't happen overnight. The allegations had been building for years. Cassie Ventura's lawsuit in November 2023 opened the floodgates. Federal agents raided Diddy's homes in March 2024. He was arrested in September 2024. The trial took weeks. The sentencing took months. And now he's sitting in a federal prison. Williams didn't predict every detail, but he understood the trajectory. He saw where the evidence was pointing, and he wasn't afraid to say it out loud. Now, does that make him a prophet? No. It makes him someone who paid attention, who refused to be bought, and who decided that the truth was more important than the payoff. So, where does this leave us, fam? Katt Williams spoke out about Diddy long before the federal charges, long before the trial, long before the conviction. He warned about the deviance in Hollywood. He turned down millions to protect his integrity. And when the truth finally came out, his words didn't seem like jokes anymore. They seemed like prophecy. But let's be clear about something. Williams isn't a fortune teller. He's a comedian who's been in the industry long enough to know how it works. He saw patterns, he recognized signs, and he chose to speak instead of staying silent. That choice comes with consequences. He's been attacked. He's been called a liar. He's been accused of being at the parties he criticizes. And none of it has stopped him from continuing to speak. What Katt Williams' story teaches us is that the truth has a way of coming out, eventually. It may take years. It may cost people their careers, but it comes out, and when it does, the people who tried to hide it are the ones who pay the price. Now, we want to hear from you. Do you believe Katt Williams was right about Diddy? Or do you think he's just another celebrity stirring up drama for attention? Drop your thoughts in the comments below, and don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell so you never miss a deep dive into the dark side of fame. This is Blamed of Fame, fam. Stay woke, stay real, and always remember that the truth will set you free.